The massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers opened with a soft hiss. Ambassador Kellevery walked through them, her blue skin glistening under the bright lights. She clutched a small crystal in her webbed hands. The crystal glowed red like a dying star. Thousands of beings filled the huge room. They came from 17 different worlds, speaking in clicks, chirps, and growls that the translation machines turned into words everyone could understand. The air smelled of ozone and fear. Kellevery had found something terrible, something that would change everything. She walked to the center of the room where a platform waited. Her feet made no sound on the smooth metal floor. Behind her, the massive screen showed her home world, Nethys, a water planet covered in floating cities. Honored council members, she began. Her voice carried to every corner of the room. The talking stopped. Even the smallest creatures paid attention. We have found something in our oldest archives, something that was supposed to be destroyed long ago. She held up the crystal. The red light pulsed faster now, like a heartbeat. This contains a trade agreement, a contract signed 300 years ago. It was made with a species that no longer exists in our records. A species called humans. A sound like thunder rolled through the chamber. Not real thunder, but the sound of thousands of beings gasping, clicking, and chittering all at once. Some stood up. Others backed away. A few small creatures fainted. Far away from the council chambers, on the edge of nowhere, a human ship waited. Captain Jake Morrison paced the bridge of his vessel, the New Frontier. He had been waiting for 6 months for the council to look at his simple request. All he wanted was to buy some metal and sell some earth vegetables. Simple trade. Nothing fancy. Jake was a big man with brown hair and tired eyes. He wore a blue uniform with patches from Earth's United Space Command. His crew of 12 had given up asking when they could go home. They played cards, read books, and stared out at the stars. Still nothing from the council, Captain, said his communications officer, a young woman named Betty Jones. She had blonde hair tied back and wore the same blue uniform as Jake. Keep trying, Jake said. He did not know that his species had been judged and sentenced centuries before he was even born. He did not know that humans were forbidden in this part of space. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Martinez worked late in her laboratory. She was a small woman with dark hair and glasses that always slipped down her nose. She studied strange signals coming from deep space. The signals made patterns that looked almost like words, but not quite. Lisa had found these patterns in her grandfather's old research files. Her grandfather had been a scientist too, before he died when she was little. His files were locked away by the government, marked with warnings she did not understand. The signals were getting stronger each day. They seemed to be coming from the direction of the Galactic Center, where the big alien council lived. Lisa's equipment showed energy readings that should not exist. The numbers made no sense according to everything science knew. She made coffee and went back to her screens. The patterns looked like they were trying to tell her something. Something important. Something about humans and aliens and agreements made long ago. In the council chambers, Kellevery waited for the noise to die down. When it did, she continued speaking. The contract shows that humans once lived among us. They were our equals. Maybe more than equals, but then they vanished from all records. Every database was cleaned, every treaty was erased, every mention of Earth was removed. She paused and looked around the room. Fear was clear on every alien face. I believe the council ordered this erasure, and I believe I know why. The crystal in her hands pulsed brighter. On the screen behind her, images began to appear. Ships unlike any the galaxy had seen in 3 centuries, technology that bent the rules of physics, and humans working alongside the very species that had tried to forget them. The secret was out. The question now was what the galaxy would do about it. 300 years ago, the galaxy was burning. The Phoenix Wars had been raging for 50 years. Entire systems were empty now, their stars cold and dead. The fighting had grown so bad that space itself was starting to break. The war had begun over trade routes. It had grown into something much worse. The Vorthan Empire used weapons that ate planets. The Zelkin Federation fired black holes at their enemies. Reality was coming apart at the seams. Then the humans arrived. Commander Ryan Collins led the first human fleet into galactic space. His ships were small compared to the giant war machines of the other species, but they carried something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. The humans called it entropic acceleration. It could make things age and fall apart in seconds. Enemy ships turned to rust and dust before they could fire a shot. Weapons meant to last forever simply stopped working. But the other species did not fear the human weapons. What scared them was how fast the humans moved. Dr. Amy Parker had created something called dimensional bridging. Her ships could step sideways through reality itself. While other fleets took months to cross space, humans could appear anywhere in days, sometimes in hours. The Corvian Mining Consortium watched human miners pull resources from places that did not exist in normal space. The humans found dimensions where gold was common as dirt, where energy flowed like water. Their ships came back loaded with wealth beyond imagination. The Zeltari Coalition controlled all the major trade routes. They charged high prices to use their space lanes. Then humans started moving cargo through dimensional bridges. The Coalition's monopoly collapsed overnight. Other species spent years building things. Humans built them in parallel dimensions where time moved faster, then brought finished products back. A human factory could produce in one day what took others months to make. The Phoenix Wars ended when Commander Ryan Collins made a simple offer. The humans would repair the damage to spacetime itself. They would fix what the war had broken. All they asked was for the fighting to stop. It worked. The humans sealed the tears in reality. They fixed the broken stars. Dead systems came back to life. The galaxy was whole again. But now everyone could see what humans could do. They were not just another species with guns and ships. They were something new, something that could change everything. The Zeltari leaders met in secret. Their trade empire was worthless now that humans could travel anywhere instantly. The Corvian Mining Consortium faced the same problem. Every major power in the galaxy suddenly found their advantages gone. Dr. Amy Parker tried to explain that humans wanted to share their technology. She said it could help everyone. She talked about worlds with no hunger, no energy shortage, no need for war over resources. The other species smiled and nodded, but they were making different plans. The first sign of trouble came when human colonies in distant sectors received evacuation orders. The messages claimed dangerous radiation had been detected. The humans believed the warnings and left their homes. Those colonies were destroyed as soon as the humans were gone. The official records said they had been hit by natural disasters. But the real reason was different. The Council could not let anyone study human technology up close. Trade agreements with humans were quietly canceled. Diplomatic contacts were cut off. When human ships tried to visit alien worlds, they found the space lanes blocked. Military patrols turned them away at gunpoint. On Earth, human leaders demanded answers. The Council replied that Earth was not ready for galactic civilization. They needed more time to develop their culture and society. It was a lie, but the humans had no way to prove it. The isolation of Earth had begun. What the humans did not know was that it would last for 3 centuries. What the Council did not know was that humans would keep growing stronger in the dark. Supreme Chancellor Thexera still had nightmares about that day. She was young then, just an assistant to her father, who held the seat for their world. But she remembered every detail of the meeting that changed the galaxy forever. The human ambassador was a woman named Kate Sullivan. She came alone to the council chambers, carrying a small silver case. She had brown hair and green eyes that seemed to see right through people. She wore a simple blue dress, nothing fancy or threatening. Kate spoke in a clear voice that needed no translation. "My government has sent me to offer a partnership. We wish to share our knowledge with the galaxy." The council members shifted in their seats. They had heard stories about humans. about their strange weapons that made things age and die, about their ships that could travel through impossible places. "What do you want in return?" asked Chancellor Zexalon of the Crystal Worlds. He was a tall being made of living stone that sparkled in the light. "Nothing but friendship," Kate answered. "We believe the galaxy is stronger when everyone works together." She opened the silver case. Inside were 3 small devices, each no bigger than a human hand. The first looked like a smooth white egg. The second was a cube covered in tiny holes. The third was a flat disk that hummed softly. Kate picked up the egg-shaped device. "This can generate unlimited clean energy. It borrows power from empty space itself. One of these could power a city for 1,000 years." She lifted the cube. "This can change any planet into a garden world. It fixes the air, the water, the soil. What takes nature millions of years to do, this does in days." Finally, she held up the disk. "And this can see things that are hidden. It shows the truth about life, about genetics, about the changes someone has made to themselves." The council chamber fell silent. That third device was the most dangerous of all. Every major species in the galaxy had used genetic modification to stay in power. The ruling classes were different from their common people in ways they did not want anyone to know. Chancellor Thexera watched her father's face turn pale. Their family had ruled for centuries because of modifications that made them smarter and stronger than other members of their species. The disk would show that secret to everyone. Kate continued speaking about trade agreements and defense pacts. She talked about humans protecting weaker species from bullies. She described a galaxy where everyone had enough food, enough energy, enough space to live in peace. But the council was not listening anymore. They were thinking about what human technology would mean for them. The Zeltari would lose their control over trade routes. The mining cartels would lose their monopoly on rare metals. The genetic aristocracies would lose their power over their own people. When Kate finished speaking, the council asked for time to discuss her offer. She smiled and said she would wait for their answer. She left the 3 devices on the table as gifts of good faith. The moment the chamber doors closed behind her, the real meeting began. Chancellor Thexera's father spoke first. "They must be stopped," he said. "If humans share this technology freely, our civilization will collapse. The common people will no longer need us. They will become equals, or superiors," added General Brixta of the War Worlds. "With human technology, any species could challenge us. Any planet could become independent." The debate lasted hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was too dangerous to be allowed into galactic society. They could not be defeated in battle. Their technology was too advanced for that. But they could be isolated, cut off, and eventually forgotten. The plan was simple in its cruelty. Humans would be erased from galactic history. Their achievements would be credited to others. Their technology would be studied in secret, but never shared. Earth would become a forbidden world, quarantined until humans either gave up or died out. Kate Sullivan returned the next day for the council's answer. They told her that humanity was not ready to join galactic civilization. They needed more time to mature as a species. She looked confused and hurt, but she accepted their decision. She never knew that she had sealed her species' fate the moment she opened that silver case. The operation began slowly. The council called it the Great Cleansing, but those words were never spoken outside their secret meetings. To the rest of the galaxy, nothing special was happening. Files were being updated, records were being corrected, history was being improved. It took 50 years to erase every trace of humans from galactic memory. Agent Sam Rodriguez thought he had the best job in the galaxy. He worked for the Department of Historical Reconciliation, fixing mistakes in old records. His job was important, they told him. He was making sure future generations had accurate information. Sam was a tall man with black hair and a careful way of working. He checked every file twice, made sure every change was perfect. He took pride in his work. He did not know that every file he corrected was removing his own people from history. The Phoenix Wars became a conflict solved by brilliant council leadership. Human victories were credited to alien heroes who never existed. The dimensional bridging technology was listed as a Zeltari invention. The weapons that could age matter were marked as ancient Corvian designs. Sam deleted thousands of files about human colonies. He replaced them with records of mining accidents and natural disasters. He wrote reports about how these remote settlements had failed due to poor planning and bad luck. The work was detailed and careful. Every database in the galaxy had to match. Every library had to show the same story. Every school would teach children that humans had never existed outside their small system. The Council created the Monitoring Division to watch Earth. Their job was to make sure humans never tried to leave their system again. They built hidden stations in empty space, sensors that could detect any human ship long before it reached another star. Dr. William Hayes worked in the Earth Archives during the final phase of the erasure. He was an old man with white hair and sharp eyes behind thick glasses. His job was to make sure even Earth's own records matched the new galactic version. But William was smarter than the Council thought. He saw the pattern in what he was being asked to delete. He noticed that all the removed files mentioned the same kind of technology, the same breakthroughs, the same achievements. Late at night, when no one was watching, William began hiding copies of the real files, but not in any place the Council would think to look. He encoded human history into quantum fluctuations themselves. He hid it in the background radiation of space. He made the universe itself remember what the galaxy wanted to forget. Human colonies in distant sectors received orders to evacuate. The messages came from Earth Command, telling them that dangerous enemies were coming. The colonists believed the warnings and abandoned their homes. They took nothing but personal belongings and headed back to Earth. The colonies were destroyed as soon as the last human ship left, sometimes by alien military forces, sometimes by bombs that made it look like accidents. The official records blamed meteor strikes or equipment failures. On Earth, people wondered why their colonies were failing. The government gave careful explanations about the dangers of deep space. They said it was better to stay close to home until humanity was stronger. Most people believed them. A few did not. These people asked questions and demanded answers. They usually disappeared. Their families were told they had taken new jobs in distant places. The files showed nothing unusual. The Council's memory modification technology was used on the few aliens who remembered humans well. Important traders, diplomats, and scientists had their minds carefully edited. They kept their skills and knowledge, but lost every memory of working with humans. Within 50 years, it was done. The galaxy had forgotten that humans ever existed outside the Sol system. Earth was marked as a developing world under eternal observation. Contact was forbidden. Any ship that tried to visit would be turned away or destroyed. But the Council made one mistake. They forgot about quantum mechanics. They forgot that information wants to be free. And they forgot that some humans were too clever to be completely erased. Captain Jake Morrison was getting impatient. His ship had been detecting the same strange signals for months now. The patterns in space seemed to repeat, like someone was trying to send a message, but no one could figure out what it meant. Lieutenant Danny Clark was the science officer on the New Frontier. He was a young man with red hair and a habit of talking to himself while he worked. Danny had been trying to decode the signals during his off-duty hours. He thought they might be natural phenomena, like radiation from old stars. Then he found something that changed everything. "Captain," Danny called across the bridge one morning. His voice was excited but confused. "I think you need to see this." Jake walked over to Danny's station. The screen showed waves of energy that pulsed in regular patterns. "What am I looking at?" "I ran the signals through our quantum analysis system," Danny explained. The computer found hidden data in the background radiation itself. "Look at this." He pressed a button. The screen changed to show text and images, old files with names Jake had never seen before. Ships that looked human but different from anything Earth had built in recent centuries. Records of something called Project Prometheus. Project Prometheus? Jake asked. Never heard of it. Neither had I. But according to this data, it was humanity's first successful dimensional bridge, built 300 years ago by someone named Dr. Amy Parker. Jake stared at the screen. That's impossible. Earth only developed dimensional bridging 20 years ago. We're the first to do it. That's what I thought too. But there's more. Danny showed him file after file. Trade agreements between humans and alien species. Military records of human ships fighting in something called the Phoenix Wars. Technology that made their own achievements look primitive. This can't be real, Jake said. But deep down, he was starting to believe it was. Far away on the council world of Vextar, something similar was happening. Junior Archivist Vexilin was doing routine maintenance in the deep storage vaults. She was a small creature with purple fur and 6 eyes that helped her see in the dark. The vault was old and forgotten. Most of its systems hadn't been checked in decades. Vexilin was supposed to verify that everything was properly sealed and stored. Just routine work that no one important cared about. Then she found a chamber that wasn't on any map. The door was made of metal unlike anything else in the building. Strange symbols covered its surface. When Vexilin ran her scanner over them, the device made sounds it had never made before. The door opened when she touched it. Inside were thousands of sealed containers stacked to the ceiling. Each one had a label with the same word, human. Vexilin opened the first container with shaking hands. Inside were data crystals and written documents. Video recordings of beings she had never seen before. They looked like the apes from the nature programs, but they wore clothes and spoke in organized ways. The videos showed these humans working alongside council species. They solved problems together. They shared technology. They seemed to be partners, not slaves or enemies. One video made her eyes go wide. It showed a human woman demonstrating a device that created food from nothing. Another showed humans helping to terraform dead planets in days instead of years. A third showed human ships appearing instantly across vast distances. But the most shocking discovery was a council report hidden at the bottom of the container. It was marked with the highest security levels. The title made Vexilin's first stand on end. Proposal for the mandatory isolation of the human species. The report explained everything. Humans had been part of galactic civilization. They had been powerful beyond anything the Council had seen. And the Council had been so afraid of that power that they had erased humans from history itself. Dr. Lisa Martinez was working late when her computer started making strange sounds. She looked up from her coffee to see data streaming across her screens faster than she could read it. The transmission was coming from deep space, from the direction of the galactic center. But this wasn't the usual background noise she had been studying. This was a direct message, encrypted and compressed beyond anything Earth technology should be able to receive. When her computer finally decoded it, Lisa nearly dropped her cup. The message was simple. The galaxy wanted to forget us. Now they need us. The choice is humanity's to make. Attached to the message were her grandfather's files. The real ones. The ones the government had hidden away. Files that proved humans had once been the most advanced species in the galaxy. The secret was finally out. Dr. Lisa Martinez could not sleep. The files her grandfather had hidden were incredible. Plans for machines that could reshape reality itself. Records of humans working as equals with aliens across the galaxy. Technology that made current human science look like cave paintings. But the most amazing discovery was something called the Harmony Engine. According to the files, it could access unlimited resources from parallel dimensions. No more hunger, no more energy shortages, no more wars over oil or metals. Everything the galaxy needed, available forever. Lisa encrypted the files and sent copies to every major university on Earth. She sent them to the military, to private companies, to anyone who might understand what they meant. The secret was too big for one person to keep. Captain Jake Morrison was having his own problems. His ship's computers had detected Council surveillance drones watching them. The aliens who had ignored him for 6 months were suddenly very interested in what he was doing. "Captain," Lieutenant Danny Clark called from his station. "I'm picking up 3 ships approaching fast. They're not responding to our signals." Jake looked at the radar screen. 3 Council patrol vessels were coming straight for them. Their weapons were charging. "They know we found something," Jake said. "Danny, transfer all those files to our backup systems. If they board us, I want copies hidden where they can't find them." But Jake had been thinking. His ship had been built with new technology. Improvements on systems the Council didn't know existed. Technology that his engineers had developed by studying the very quantum patterns that held humanity's hidden history. "All hands, prepare for emergency jump," Jake announced. "We're going home." The new frontier vanished just as the Council ships opened fire. They didn't use the standard jump gates. They went through a dimensional bridge that bypassed every sensor the Council had. On Vextar, Archivist Vexlin was in deep trouble. She had been caught in the Forbidden Vault. Security forces surrounded her as she clutched the data crystal containing the truth about humans. "You were not authorized to be here," growled Commander Thexbane. He was a large creature covered in scales with teeth like knives. "Give me that crystal." "No," Vexlin said, surprising herself with her own courage. "The galaxy needs to know the truth." She activated a device she had found in the vault. A human communication array still connected to networks across Council space. With one button press, she transmitted everything. The secret files spread like wildfire. Every news network in Council space received the data within hours. Even the Council couldn't stop all of them from broadcasting the truth. Ambassador Kellevery watched the chaos from her office. Her decision to investigate the old treaty had started all of this. Now the galaxy was learning that humans had been erased from history, that they had been feared so much that the Council had chosen exile over cooperation. On Earth, Jake Morrison's ship appeared in orbit without warning. His crew was shouting and cheering. They had done the impossible. They had outrun Council ships using technology the aliens didn't know humans possessed. Jake sent a message to Earth Command immediately. "This is the new frontier. We're coming home. And we have a story the whole planet needs to hear." Within days, every human on Earth knew the truth. They learned about their forgotten colonies, about wars their ancestors had won, about technology that had once made humanity the most powerful species in the galaxy. Dr. Lisa Martinez became the most famous scientist on Earth overnight. Her grandfather's hidden research proved that humans had not been primitive when they met the aliens. They had been advanced beyond anything the current galaxy possessed. The reaction was swift and angry. Human ships across known space began broadcasting the same message. "We remember now. We're coming back." Earth's governments met in emergency session. The military prepared for war. Scientists worked day and night to rebuild the ancient technologies from the recovered files. But some humans had a different idea. They didn't want revenge. They wanted justice. They wanted the galaxy to see what humanity could really do when they weren't being held back by fear and lies. The Council had spent 3 centuries trying to forget humanity. Now they would learn that humans had spent those same centuries growing stronger in the dark. And this time, they wouldn't be asking for permission to take their place among the stars. The Council's carefully built order began falling apart like a house of cards. Species that had been friends for hundreds of years now stared at each other with suspicion. If they could lie about humans, what else had they hidden? The Zeltari trade lords were furious. They discovered that humans had offered free dimensional bridge technology 300 years ago. Their entire empire was built on controlling space lanes that humans could have made useless with the push of a button. "We could have had instant travel across the galaxy," shouted Trade Master Vex Kelly at the Emergency Council meeting. "Instead, you made us spend centuries crawling through space like insects." The Corvian Mining Consortium was equally angry. Their archives showed that humans had offered to teach them how to mine in parallel dimensions. places where rare metals were as common as rocks on Earth. Chancellor Thexera stood at the center of the chaos. She was older now, her blue skin wrinkled with age and stress. The same woman who had watched her father vote to exile humanity was now dealing with the consequences. Order, order, she shouted, but no one was listening. Then the alarms began. Red lights flashed throughout the council station. Warning sirens wailed like dying animals. Unknown ships appearing throughout council space, reported the communications officer. His voice was shaking. They're not using the jump gates. They're appearing directly in our systems. On the main screen, images appeared from across the galaxy. Human ships materializing in empty space. Not one or two, but dozens. Hundreds. They came through dimensional bridges that bypassed every defense the Council had. Each ship carried the same message broadcast on all frequencies. We're back. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the same chamber where Kate Sullivan had been dismissed 3 centuries ago, but this time was different. He wasn't asking permission to join the galaxy. He was telling the Council that humanity was resuming its place among the stars. Jake had changed since his return to Earth. He wore a new uniform made from materials that seemed to shift and shimmer in the light. His ship, rebuilt with recovered human technology, waited outside the station. Honored Council members, Jake began. His voice was calm but carried power. 300 years ago, you made a choice. You decided that humanity was too dangerous to exist alongside you. You tried to erase us from history. Behind him, Dr. Lisa Martinez stepped forward. She carried a small device that looked like a crystal sphere. Inside it, energy swirled like captured lightning. You fear our technology, Lisa said. You were right to. This device can bend the laws of physics themselves. We can choose which rules apply and which ones don't. She activated the device. The gravity in the chamber shifted. Some council members floated upward while others felt heavier than mountains. Colors changed. Sound became visible. The very air sparkled with possibilities. We have grown in our isolation, Jake continued. The technology you feared 3 centuries ago was nothing compared to what we have now. We can reshape reality itself. We can reach into other universes and bring back knowledge that would make your scientists weep with joy. The demonstration ended. Gravity returned to normal. The council members sat in stunned silence. But we didn't come here for revenge, Lisa added. We came to give you a choice, the same choice you denied us long ago. Supreme Chancellor Thexera found her voice. What choice? Partnership, Jake said simply. We can share what we've learned. We can build a galaxy where no one goes hungry, where energy is unlimited, where the vast distances between stars mean nothing. Or, Lisa continued, you can try to stop us again. See how well that works out. The threat was clear but not spoken loudly. Human ships surrounded council space. Technology that made the impossible look easy waited to be unleashed. The council faced a decision that would change everything. They could accept humans as equals, maybe even as superiors, or they could fight a war they had no hope of winning. The galaxy held its breath and waited for their answer. The silence in the council chamber lasted forever and no time at all. Supreme Chancellor Thexera looked at the faces around her. Fear, anger, resignation, and in a few, something like hope. The vote was closer than it had been 3 centuries ago. Some species wanted to fight. They spoke of honor and independence, but they were outnumbered by those who had seen what human technology could do. We accept, Chancellor Thexera announced finally. Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. The Council votes to welcome humanity back into galactic civilization. There was no applause, no celebration, just the sound of a galaxy changing forever. The Treaty of New Harmony was signed 1 month later. Unlike 300 years ago, humans were not asking to join. They were claiming their place as equals. Maybe more than equals. Captain Jake Morrison worked with the Council to establish new trade networks. He was patient with former enemies who had tried to keep his people isolated. He understood that fear made people do terrible things. The changes came fast. Zeltari trade ships found their routes empty within weeks. Human dimensional bridges made it possible to travel instantly between any 2 points in the galaxy. The monopoly that had made the Zeltari rich for centuries became worthless overnight. But humans were not cruel about it. Jake helped retrain Zeltari pilots to operate dimensional bridges. Their knowledge of space lanes became valuable for setting up the new instant travel network. The Corvian Mining Consortium watched in amazement as humans began extracting resources from parallel dimensions. Gold was as common as iron in some realities. Rare crystals existed in mountains in others. The artificial scarcity that had driven galactic economics disappeared in months. Dr. Lisa Martinez led teams across the galaxy, installing Harmony engines on every world that wanted them. Planets that had struggled with energy shortages for millennia suddenly had more power than they knew what to do with. The social changes were even bigger than the technological ones. The genetic modifications that kept ruling families in power became meaningless when humans shared medical technology that could improve anyone. Hierarchies that had existed for thousands of years crumbled in years. Some species resisted. The crystal worlds tried to maintain their old ways. But when their common people saw what was possible, revolutions spread like wildfire. Not violent ones, but peaceful changes as people demanded the freedoms that human technology made possible. Ambassador Kellevery, now serving as the Council's official representative to Earth, often thought about the lesson the galaxy had learned. Fear of change had nearly destroyed their greatest opportunity for growth. She visited Earth frequently and was amazed by what she saw. Humans had not spent 3 centuries plotting revenge. They had spent those years growing, learning, and preparing to help others when the time came. The irony was not lost on the galaxy. By trying to contain humanity's power, the Council had only made them more powerful. 300 years of isolation had given humans time to perfect technologies that made their original achievements look simple. Dr. Lisa Martinez often spoke at universities across the galaxy. She talked about the Harmony engine, about dimensional bridges, about technologies that could reshape reality itself. But she always ended her lectures the same way. "Our greatest achievement is not our technology," she would say. "It's our choice to build rather than destroy, to help rather than harm, to share rather than hoard." The galaxy had outlawed every pact with humans, fearing their power. In the end, it was humanity's mercy that determined whether galactic civilization would survive. The Council had learned a hard lesson. Sometimes the thing you fear most is exactly what you need. And sometimes the species you try to forget is the one that saves you all.